All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. We are so excited that you could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to spend your time with us here this evening. We're really hoping that we're able to have both a fun and productive conversation today. My name is L'Oreal Latimer, and I lead many of OneGoal's national OneGoal pathway partnerships. And we will begin in about 2 to 3 minutes, and because we want to give everyone time to log in. So while we're waiting, feel free to grab some water, feel free to grab a snack. We are together just for about 45 minutes today, and we plan on making use of every single minute. So we will be getting started in 2 to 3 minutes. We want to give you all some time to grab whatever you need to fully engage in this time. In the meantime, though, please share in the chat where you're joining us from today. This is a national webinar, so we know we have folks that will be joining us from all around the country. If you could share in the chat where you're joining us from, and maybe a song that's been on repeat, rent-free in your head this week. Those people who know me know that I am a huge Beyonce fan. So I would say the song that has been on repeat for me is Break My Soul. I'm sure many of you have heard it, can't avoid it these days. But we're really curious where you're joining us from, and if you could share a song that's been on your head in rent-free and on repeat this week. All right, I don't see any. Okay, Miranda, love it. And that is definitely in the voice of my elders and ancestors, what we would like to call a cut, a really good song that is often played at family functions. So shout out to you, Miranda. I'm also from the south side of Chicago, so hopefully the weather is holding up over there, but thank you so much for joining us this evening. Jeanette, thank you so much for joining us. I see that we have Ina from Massachusetts. She also has her own song that's bopping in her head rent-free. I'm gonna have to play this after this call. Thank you so much for sharing the app also that you're using to take notes. And then we have Kat on this call from Chicago, listening to Masego. I love to see it. Love to see it. Masego has really good like coffee shop tune style infused music as well too. So really encourage you all to check that out. And Adele. We'll have to talk about the Adele and Beyonce thing that's been going on for the past few years offline, Daniel, but I love to see that as well too. All righty, folks. So I know that we might have some individuals popping in and out, but I do want to go ahead and get us started. As I mentioned at the start of this call, my name is L'Oreal Latimer, and I am the Senior Director of Program Innovation here at OneGoal. I lead our National Pathway Partnerships, and I want to welcome you all officially to our You Have Options, Launch Your Career webinar. And you might be joining us today because you want to learn more about some of the different opportunities that exist that could potentially support you on your career path or goals, or because you might be collecting or gathering information for someone you know who might be in that space of considering and weighing their options. And our hope for today is that we're able to show you a number of different pathways you could take to your career aspirations, and that you take whatever information you learn here and share it with someone else who these opportunities might be a good fit for. Before we dig in, I would love to get a sense of who is joining us today. So we're going to kick off our time now with a quick poll to learn a little bit more about our audience. And we would love if you could tell us a little bit more about your career aspirations. We're very curious what career fields you might be interested in. And this could be an area you are currently working in or one that you hope to be in the future. And maybe you're open to different possibilities, but not sure. But we're here to help you with those options. We want to get a gauge of who's in the room and some of the things they might be interested in. So you have just 30 seconds to complete this poll. All right, and I see we already have some interest in banking and finance, information technology, other, very curious what other options those might be. Really interesting so far. Just a few more seconds. I see that we have participation from about 60% of the people who have joined us today. So anybody else, you have at least 15 seconds to participate before we close the poll. A lot of other, and I'm excited to see that there's some banking and finance and IT interest, because I know that we have programs that speak to all those different pathways. And also some alumni who have completed those programs who are actually walking right now, and their purpose is to complete those programs. Oh, this is really cool. It's really cool to see also the different groups of people that are represented in the space today. Okay, so this is really interesting intel. And we will hopefully speak to some of these different career possibilities in our conversations today. But thank you all so much for indulging in that poll. We are going to move along now and get to some of the fun parts of today's conversation. But before we do that, we would love to share with you all some of the ways we hope you're going to engage. So we would love for you to continue to engage with us throughout the webinar through the chat. So you can ask questions via the chat, or if you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a button for Q&A. We do encourage you to leverage that button. I do want to remind you all that we are all here to explore and learn. So if you have questions, we want to do our best to answer those. And we know that sometimes you might need to give yourself permission to ask that question. We want to encourage you to push yourself to ask that question, because once you ask a question, it typically helps everyone else out. So please don't hesitate to ask that question. Not only did I get to open up today's webinar, but I also have the honor of being your webinar host today. Definitely excited to be able to be the face and also representative for our conversation. But I am not doing this alone. There are some amazing partners that OneGoal has been able to work with throughout the past year and several months. And you all will be able to hear from several programs that offer a variety of career and education pathways. And joining us today, we have 3 incredible programs, and those are Merit America, Peloton U, and Year Up. And you'll get to hear from representatives from all of those programs shortly. But before we get there, in addition to some of the featured programs that we also have some very special guests who are joining us today. And today we have 3 alumni who attended Peloton U and Merit America. And these alumni and all of their brilliance will give you some insider information on their experiences in these programs to hopefully help you understand what it's like so that you can continue making the decision on which program might be the best pathway for you. And so to get us started, we'll allow our alumni to introduce themselves. And first up, we have Brianna Corona from Peloton U.
I'm on mute. Hey, y'all, I'm from Austin, Texas. Do we want to go through the questions of what Peloton U is, or are we going to do an introduction?
We would love... Brianna, thank you so much. And I know that you're repping Texas, but we would love if you could also share the year you completed Peloton U, the program you enrolled in, and what you liked most about your experience and how it impacted your life so far.
Absolutely. So I graduated in 2018. I was able to get my associate's degree in under, I think it was like 15 months, which was great. At that time, I was working at HEB. So if you're in Texas, you definitely know what HEB is, which is the best grocery store ever. And Peloton U really helped me work with my flexibility with that schedule. It was ever changing, right? And I had a great mentor that Peloton U provides you to kind of check in and see how school's doing, how is life. Like whenever work got really hectic, I was able to have someone say, like, let's think about the problem and a solution. So I did that, and now I'm in cybersecurity, which is a little bit different than working at the supermarket, but it provided a really great opportunity for me to work and go to school at the same time. It kind of felt like the Netflix of college, where I was able to complete as many courses as I could, and was just able to grab the next one and not have to wait around for the following semester to take new courses.
I love that. And we need to quote that it felt like the Netflix of college, because you get to pick what movie you want to watch on Netflix. And
Exactly.
I mean, I'm a little bit, I have my own streaming app preferences, but that analogy was amazing. Thank you so much for that. Next, we'll hear from Matt Dixon, who is an alumnus from Merit America. And same for you, Matt. We want you to rep where you're from, but also we want to hear about the program you enrolled in, what led you to choose that experience, what you appreciated most about your experience, and how it has impacted your life.
Absolutely. I'm Matt Dixon, and I'm repping the DFW area here in Texas. But I'm not a Cowboys fan, by all means. So just talk a little bit about Merit America. I enrolled in Merit America's IT program back in 2021. I chose Merit America because of the program reviews and the flexibility that the program offered. What I liked most about the Merit America program and my experience there was the flexibility of my schedule. I was able to work a full-time job as well as do 20, 25 hours a week in coursework. Another thing I liked about it as well was the connectivity with the squad members. I truly believe that there's something special about being part of a squad. It gives you that kind of tribe mentality, like we're all in this together. And that's something that really helped me with my team, with Merit. Going through the program, Merit America has changed my career, has changed my life. It gave me a clear direction, focus, exposed me to all areas of IT, and it equipped me with skills to help me to understand my job in a better light. You know, working in IT support. Most importantly, going through Merit America, through the IT program, it increased my hunger for more knowledge in IT. And I've been blessed to take numerous IT courses since Merit. I got numerous, some certification as well since I left Merit. And I got a lot of recognition as well from my team members.
Thank you so much for that, Matt. And I'm very excited to hear more about your experience when we get into Q&A. But one of the things you shared that stood out to me was just like the importance of the squad, because it is very difficult to pursue any pathway. And so to be on that journey alone is very challenging, but really love that you were able to get some of those wraparound supports. So next up, we have April, and she's going to be the last to hold it down for the alumni. So we're very curious, April, what you've been up to, where you're from, how Merit America has supported you, and what you've loved and appreciated about the program.
Well, hi, I'm April. Technically, I'm from everywhere, but I identify as being from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's where I've lived longest, and I go back and forth to. So what I really loved about Merit America, and what I tell everybody all the time, is that it really did not matter who you are. It really didn't matter where you came from, what was going on in your life. Merit America was there to kind of pick you up, say, we can do this together, and go for it. And the motivation behind all of it, especially in my class, I was in the data analytics, and I was working as a social media manager. And I just was super unhappy. And I got through the program. I had job offers before I left the program, and it had revolutionized my outlook on not only life, but my career prospects have changed dramatically. And I tell everybody every day, things are changing. I'm now working a dream job. I work for Lucasfilm and Industrial Light and Magic, and it's not what a typical data analyst would be doing, but it is surprisingly right up the career field.
Thank you for that. And I'm just so amazed by the brilliance and the work that you all are up to so far. April, I would love to just job shadow you and your work as you're like tearing down ceilings in the film industry, but we'll get into that a little bit more later. So huge thank you so much to all of our alumni for sharing their stories and for being here today. You all heard them speak to some of these amazing programs, but you might now be curious about those programs and some of the steps it might take to enroll in those programs, or just some of the requirements associated with all of those programs and different pathways. So now you will have an opportunity to hear directly from some representatives from these different programs and pathways. And first up, we have Daniel from Merit America, who will bring us into what the Merit America program is all about.
Hi, thank you, L'Oreal. And hi, everyone else. My name is Daniel O'Donnell, and I'm a senior manager here at Merit America. First, I want to thank Matt and April for sharing their Merit America stories. They're just two of the thousands of individuals that we have gone through our programs and seen such great outcomes. And P.S., as a Star Wars nerd, I'm super jealous of your job, April. Today, 53 million working Americans, nearly half of all of the U.S., workforce, do not earn a living wage. And these talented workers have few options to advance. You heard in both Matt and April's stories, college is too long and expensive. Full-time boot camp programs really don't offer enough flexibility. And online courses that don't have structure or support usually don't translate into learning into a new career, translate the learning into a new career. And the result is that talented Americans, disproportionately those people of color and women, are getting stuck in low-wage roles with no way to build a better life for themselves and their families. And so we here at Merit America are driven to create pathways to family-sustaining careers for Americans who are stuck in those low-wage jobs, just like we did for Matt and April. When we were founding our organization, we started by analyzing tens of millions of job postings to identify the in-demand, high-paying tech careers. And then we set out to develop programs that would prepare our learners specifically for those roles while being part-time, combining flexible online learning with best-in-class coaching. So we found a curriculum partner in Google in offering our IT support, data analytics, and UX design programs. And then we also co-created a Java development curriculum with some of the leading employers in the tech space. So again, developing these programs from the ground up with what this requisite skills for those roles were in mind from day one. On top of these technical curriculums, we scaffold on synchronous coaching sessions, squad meetings, mock interviews, and other professional skills like communication, project management, and time management to really prepare our alumni to be at the top of any applicant pool. Our learners pay nothing up front, and they only pay for the cost of the training if they have a successful outcome, which we define as making at least $40,000 a year. On average, learners see a starting salary of around $46,000 a year, depending on the career track that they pursue within the first 6 months of graduation. This is from an average starting salary for applicants who are just applying to the program of around $25,000 a year. We're so confident in our programs that we promise that if you don't get a job making at least $40,000 a year within 2 years of completing the program, you don't pay anything at all. I'm looking forward to answering any questions you have at the end of the panel, but in the interest of time, I will pass it over to my colleagues at Peloton U, and you're up.
Thank you, Daniel. So next we'll hear from Peloton U.
All right, can y'all see my video okay? Cool. So my name is Bradley Hoosier. I'm a manager at Peloton U, but my informal title is a bunch of different hats where I do a bunch of things that work with students and recruiting students, and I love my job because I was in a place where a lot of students were once upon a time. And so Peloton U has really transformed my life working there, and I know that it's transformed the lives of a lot of students like Brianna. Her and I have had many conversations about her career after graduating, and it's just so cool to see her succeed. And Rodolfo, who's pictured here on this slide, he's another former student of ours, a graduate, and now he is doing a full-time career at IBM starting this fall. So it's just super cool to see how our students grow. But the really cool thing about our program is that it does the opposite of what traditional college does, which is expect you to fit your really complex and really busy life around this super complex, needlessly complex grinder called college, right? And what was flip that on its head and say, no, these students, you guys have really busy lives. It's probably daunting, the idea of getting a college degree. And so what we want to do is get all the BS out of the way and allow you guys to fit college around your life rather than the other way around. And so the three main things that we do in order to provide that experience is we're as flexible as we possibly can be. So you can study at your own pace. In the industry, we call that asynchronous, but it really just means that you can log in and work whenever you wish, rather than having to depend on, you know, some professor who's going to show up late, talk at you for an hour. You're just going to take notes from the way to pass the exam. So we kind of done away with all that kind of thing. We allow you to do things at your own pace, slow things down when you need to if you want to take time with a certain subject, or speed things up if you're like, man, I kind of got this, I'm just going to roll through it. And then the personalized coaching piece, I can't emphasize enough what personalized means. There's a ton of colleges who'll say, you're not just a number, but you really are just a number to them. They're focused 100% on enrollment and making money off of you. And what we do with our program is we really care about you. We want to get to know you like we got to know Brianna and Rodolfo here, who spoke again on this slide. We want to get to know your story. What are the reasons why college feels daunting to you, or what are the reasons that you feel like you might not succeed? And we get those things out of the way so that you can focus 100% on learning when you're studying. And then lastly, the cost of college, I don't even have to like explain this. Everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that college is ridiculously priced, because it is. And most of that is administrative bloat, so that people who already have PhDs from Yale can make more money than they already do, mostly white men. And that's totally unfair and unnecessary. So we intentionally price our program under the full Pell Grant amount. So if you're eligible for the Pell Grant, you'll actually pay $0 for college in total. And we have a pretty inexpensive tuition at around $6,000 for an entire year of learning. Again, that's under the full Pell amount. So anybody who's fully Pell eligible gets some money back to pay for a laptop or whatever they want to do. So our students graduate with very little debt, if none at all. So that's really great. So again, it's flexible, super personalized. We care about you, and you're not going to end up with a bunch of debt, so that when you go to get that great job that you've been looking forward to, that career, that level up, you're not like, well, I leveled up my salary, but I also have to pay crazy amounts of money to pay off my loans. And like, now it kind of feels like I'm just robbing Peter to pay Paul here. I'm not really getting ahead. So we want to make sure you guys actually get ahead. You get into a place where you're feeling supported. And once you graduate and once you start with Peloton U, you're with us forever. We'll support you throughout your career, even after you've gone through the program. And we still maintain a lot of the connections that we do with our graduates, as exemplified by Brianna and Rodolfo here. So if you guys have any questions or whatever, there's tons of fun bells and whistles and features that I can talk about, like a free 6-week period to just try it out if you want to do that. But I'm always available to talk to. We have our phone number and our email there at the bottom as well, if you guys are interested. So really appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, Bradley. And there actually is a Peloton U in a few different other places too. So Peloton U is one organization as part of what we're calling the Hybrid College Network. And if you don't know, OneGoal is actually a national organization. We're in about 6.5 different geographical contexts. And so if you are in the Bay Area and you're on this call and you hear about Peloton U and it might be of interest to you, there is a program identical to Peloton U called Rivet. If you're in Chicago, there's a program identical to Peloton U called Noble Forward. If you're in Mass, there's Duet. And if you're in Atlanta or Houston and beyond, Peloton U would be the place for you. That rhymed. I did good with that. But next up, we will hear from Europe, and then we will get into some Q&A.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Bernadette Alonso. I'm the Director of Enrollment Solutions for Year Up. I am very excited to share with you about our program. So Year Up is a national workforce development organization that has been around over 20 years. Really proud of the fact that we've been serving young adults that amount of time and have been very successful. We are focused on 4 areas. One is ensuring equitable access to economic opportunity, education, and justice for all young adults. The other one is equipping young adults with the skills, experience, and support they need to enter the professional world and thrive. Third is bringing talented young adults and industry-leading companies together to launch their careers, power business, and build community. And the last one is providing a strategic source of opportunity talent to some of America's largest and best known employers. So some of our corporate partners are Bank of America. We've worked with Warner Brothers, Snap, Hulu, American Express, JP Morgan Chase. So some of the very large organizations that you may be looking at as opportunities for yourself, it makes sense to look at a program like Year Up. Basically what we do, it's a 3-step job training program that allows you to apply, get your training, and we assist you with wraparound services. So you'll see here, it's basically a paid internship based on the program you apply for. So there are different programs, as it says here: IT, software development, business operations, banking, and customer success. So there are various pathways that you can look into. You can meet with some of our admissions folks that will talk to you about, what you're looking to do and provide some guidance in terms of what makes the most sense in terms of your goals and aspirations. And applying to our program is very easy. And we basically set up an interview for you to meet with our staff to go through what it is that you're looking for as far as what you're looking to accomplish. And then we go through some onboarding with you to ensure that you get set up for success and are able to start our program. So you can you could be eligible to earn college credits depending on your program. We have as long as a year as an option for you to attend our program, but you can actually attend a few other ways through accelerated program. And then we also have a multi-site for banking. So you can actually complete our program within as little as 3 months. So there are some accelerated programs just depending on your experience and, again, what you're looking to accomplish in your career. So really excited to share that you can access our alumni network. We have student services that support. So again, as I mentioned, there's wraparound support available for you as well. So I'd love to talk to you more and answer any questions that you may have. And I'm going to send it back to L'Oreal.
Thank you so much, Bernadette. And there's a lot of energy around these different programs. And we actually want to be able to ask some questions of the individuals you just heard from so that you all can get some of that insider information that we spoke to, because these programs represent the many different pathways you could take to some of the awesome careers the alumni spoke to. So the first question that I'm going to pose to the group, and I do want to encourage the rest of you, if you have any questions, feel free to put that directly in the chat or share a question through the Q&A function. But the first question I have, and this is for any one of the partners, would be: how are students supported during the programs? And how are they supported when they finish the program?
Sorry, you cut out there, L'Oreal. Could you read off the question again, please?
Sure. So the first question would be: how are students supported during the program, and how are students supported after the program? So like that support during and that support once they are an alumni.
Sure. Yeah. So during the program, they're partnered one-on-one with a success coach. They're going to talk with them through, not just academic obstacles, but life obstacles, and build an actual relationship with them. We pair our coaches with our students based on temperament, personality, lived experience, background, all different kinds of vectors. And it's really about matching you with somebody who you're going to feel like is really on your team, that you gel with, because that's kind of what's important to your success. And then as you go through the Peloton U program, you kind of get to know all of us who work there, the staff, and your fellow students. And so you're not necessarily supported formally after your graduation. You'll be helped with career placement and things like that. But once you move on to the next step, it's really about developing a lifelong informal relationship with the people that you already know. And so I get text messages from alumni all the time, phone calls, things like that, of just checking in and saying, hey man, how's it going? And just catching up with each other. And it's cool to see how they'll grow from, this a new student who has imposter syndrome and they're really worried about their ability to get a degree. And then they get the degree and then they start in their career and they start to learn what it's like to actually experience life in that particular career. And then sometimes they'll want to change their career. So they'll talk with you about like, what's it like to change your career? I'm really scared. I don't really know how to transition to this new industry, and all the things and glorious fruits that life has to offer. So so they're supported like family, but the relationship is also professional as well.
Thank you for that, Bradley. And my next question, and I see that Daniel is answering a question in the chat, and we'll come back to that one. But my next question is about, this one is actually for you, Bernadette, at Europe, because I know that Europe also provides some wraparound supports for alumni. But there's a question around like, well, what if a student is working? How does a student support their needs and schedule? And I think this also kind of speaks to the question in the chat as well, Daniel, like about the payback. But I would love to hear from you first, Bernadette. Like, what does it mean for a student who's in Europe and they just might happen to be working? And how does that look once they've completed the program?
Yeah, so they actually can work. It just really depends on the program they decide to apply for. So what we do in the beginning is we'll talk about what the schedule is for that particular program and give the student the opportunity to make those either make those adjustments in their schedule or have the opportunity to study as far as like a hybrid schedule, which is a very common way our students, or a common modality in which our students are studying at this time. Post-COVID, we've made it so that students have the opportunity to study virtually. But one of the requirements is that they may have to get to their internship on site. So that's something that we want to talk through and really plan when it comes to that adjustment. And I also want to say that we do provide high support through wraparound services, from mental health support to clothing to transportation stipends. Really want to make sure that individual knows exactly, what they could be signing up for in terms of that support, and of course make sure they give them an opportunity to let us know where we can meet them in terms of where they are at. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And keep me honest here, Bernadette, but Europe is 100% free, right?
That is correct. It's a paid internship program. So it gives our young adults the opportunity to earn a stipend while they're studying with us and also training. There's two parts. There's learning and development, and there's internship. So it could be as little as, say, $50 a week. I know that, for a 3-month training, but it could be as much as $250 a week based on where they are at in program. So I think that's really important. And somebody said it earlier, the starting salary for some of our students transitioning and getting converted out of internship is a minimum of $40,000 and above. So really excited about that, and love to talk to anybody more about the program as well.
Oh, I'm hearing that salary and thinking about my starting salary fresh out of college. I don't even think it was 20, but we'll have to talk about that offline. So this is like the perfect segue to the question that you kind of added some voice to in the chat, Daniel, but Merit America has like that 0%, like that $0 down, but in some respect, a payback program. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, we actually think of it as a pay it forward. So as I mentioned, our curriculum partner is Google, and last February, they started this $100 million career certificates fund, where the fund is actually paying Merit America to train the learner. And then if the learner has a successful outcome, they pay the fund back via a 0% loan, 0 fee loan through Ascent funding. So learners pay nothing up front. They actually don't have to sign the agreement to repay until the 5th week of the program, what we call our immersion phase, the beginning of the immersion phase. So there's a little bit of a try before you buy period in there. And then we're tying our success and the success of the fund to the success of the learner. And so they have to make at least $40,000 a year after they graduate in order to be eligible for repayment. About 80% of our graduates get to that threshold after graduation. For the other 20%, there are options to defer over the course of a 5-year period. And if they never hit that $40,000 in the first 2 years, this is a new guarantee rolling out right now, we will get basically refund the loan, refund the tuition. So they pay nothing unless they have that successful outcome. And the maximum they'll ever pay is $5,700 over the course of those 5 years.
Thank you for that. And Bradley, you gave us so much intel just about like, you know, the ways in which, you know, the standard colleges and universities have made an income based on like how much the cost of tuition is. So I appreciated you sharing how low cost Peloton U was. Separately, switching gears a little bit, I'm really curious, what are some of the most career pathways in the programs you each represent? Now, I was hearing April and Matt and Brianna talk about their career pathways and where they currently are. My assumption is that that's not where you started, but nonetheless, it's where you are. So are there particular pathways in each of the programs that you all represent that are more popular than others?
I'll go first, no problem. So most in the data analyst pathway for Merit America, most people become data analyst. Most of you, you know, work for larger companies, even smaller companies, but and you just do data banks and work on your programming. And a majority of the time, that is what a lot of people are going to become out of that track. My story is slightly different because I realized that with your data analytic skills that you learn, a lot of different companies have what I would like to call database light. So like in the production industry, in the movie making and showbiz industry, they have something called Shotgun. It's Excel. It's a fancy Excel with a brand new package. So while most people in my, you know, career path will become data analysts, I always tell everybody, apply everywhere. You can use the skills everywhere.
If I could jump in there real fast, we just had some really great data that actually a minority of our graduates are going into what people would consider kind of a fully tech role, right? They're going to work for Amazon Web Services, or they're going to work for JP Morgan Chase and like their data analysis division. I don't know if that's a real thing, but you know what I'm saying. Most of our graduates are going to work for their regional healthcare network as an HR analyst if they have a data analytics background, or they're going to work for their local community college networks, IT department, and an IT support role. So still a tech role, but not necessarily in the tech field, if that makes sense. So a lot of tech-enabled positions across all of our tracks.
Thank you for that. And I was waiting for you to jump in, Bernadette, because I know Europe has a little bit more of a myriad of options that might even be outside of the realm of tech too.
They are. I would say that our app development is very popular. But I would say the biggest opportunity right now is with banking. There is a lot of opportunity to get into finance. There's additional support. The banks have actually really highlighted a lot of the benefits they have, from tuition assistance to additional layers of support for students to not only go back to school, but to go through professional development, as well as a whole list of other benefits for young adults to really get into a long-term career and within 5 years get to that six-figure salary. So really great opportunities all around. I think it can fall under business as well, but banking for sure is definitely something that's a big highlight right now.
Thank you. And I would love to hear from Bradley. I know that you all offer healthcare management as part of the Peloton U curriculum, Bradley. So what are some of the more popular programs at Peloton U?
Yeah. I actually want to give Brianna a little bit of a chance to talk about her story and what her major of choice was. But I want to say in general, we have a ton of different options. There's 12 different degree programs that we offer at Peloton U. But I think the important thing to keep in mind is that the Peloton U program is about learning how to learn. Because if you look at statistics, if you want to talk about what the corporate landscape of the job market looks like, the average lifetime of a corporation has gone down around 200% on the S&P, which just means that corporations are living and dying more quickly. And that means that the landscape is changing all the time. You guys know, like, the different skills that employers want are changing all the time. And so trying to fit your career around a certain skill set is sometimes a path that can lead to peril, and that you can quickly become outdated if somebody graduates, 5 years after you did. with a different skill set, but has kind of a similar sort of training background that you do. So the thing about this is about learning how to learn. The reason why it's important is because you can always keep reinventing yourself. My degree was in economics. I wanted to work in investment banking. That isn't where I actually wanted to end up, and wasn't aligned with like my soul self. And so part of the Peloton U program is about learning who you really are and getting focused on like, what is my purpose in life? And then building your career based on what that purpose is. And that means that what your actual job is going to change over time in order to serve that purpose. So I'm going to let Brianna talk a little bit about her life and how that's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a communications major. That's what I got from Peloton U, and I was able to really apply that in different realms. So for experience, is like for my experience, I was at Yeti for a little bit, and I was their warranty specialist. So I learned how to communicate in that kind of world. But then I knew that actually wasn't what I wanted, and I wanted to be more in the HR area. So I was able to become a recruitment coordinator and translate those people skills over to our candidates, recruiters, interviewers, things like that, right? So it was just all about learning those skill sets and being able to transfer it there.
Thank you, Brianna. So we're coming up on time. Love that, Matt, that plug about networking. It is essential. I know that April, you shared your LinkedIn in the chat. Like, that is a vehicle for networking. So if you all do not have a LinkedIn, I really encourage everyone, if you take any next action outside of completing the form we're going to drop in the chat shortly, it would be to create a LinkedIn and get some different eyes on it. We are coming up on time. This time went by so fast, and there have been so many gems dropped. I do want to do one last thing before I close this out. And that would be to, there's a form that we would like participants and individuals who have joined us today to complete if you want to hear more from these programs. The other thing I want to do is thank you all so much for coming. But to wrap us up, I want to pass it back to our panelists and partners. If there was one piece of advice that you could give a student who has been thinking about applying or enrolling, what would that be? And we do have to keep that brief because we're coming up on time, but I think that's probably the most powerful part of some of this is like, there are students who might be considering these as options, and it's like, what information or advice do you wish someone would have given you as you were considering this as an option? And in the meantime, we'll drop that link in the chat so that those who are interested in follow-up can complete the link as well.
Oh, I can start. I wish I knew about Year Up when I started my career, and I made a lot of mistakes in my career. And I feel that this program really helps with all of the nuances that you need to really thrive in any type of work environment. So for that, I'm really proud to be part of the group. And I would say, one step at a time, but definitely take advantage of any one of the programs and get started on your career now.
I would love to call on Matt or April if they have an alumni perspective to this answer. Oh,
I can, again, for sure. My main advice to everyone right now is to go for it. Just absolutely go for it, and to use your leverage, because as you join one of these programs, you're going to start an upward momentum, and it's your story, and you're just going to keep going, and you're going to start networking, and use all of your help, use everyone, use your teachers, and continue that upward trajectory, because it's going to land you somewhere amazing. I didn't end up where I thought I was going, but I ended up somewhere pretty awesome, and just go for it.
So,
I love that.
Oh.
I love that. I was going to pass it to Matt next. We haven't passed you the mic enough. And I mean, it might be a little bit hard to follow up on that gem April just dropped, but I know you got something for us.
Absolutely. If I would, have any advice for anybody, that is network, get out of your shell. One thing about Merit America, you learn that squad, like I said before, the tribe mentality. When you network with people that's around you, I ended up doing that. I actually networked with a lot of IT professionals out there, like Kevin Kevin, Kev Tech, Juan Lightfoot, David Bombo, different ones out there in the tech space. Networking works. If you stay to yourself, you're not going to get the help that you need. Networking works. That's how I got my current role as a network engineer, because with Merit America and the 110, I was able to get that role because I networked. So definitely networked.
Thank you for that, Matt. And I know, Bradley, I cut you off. So I want to be able to pass
No. Yeah, no. So the only thing that I would say is that your soul will speak to you when you give it space to. And the way that it will speak to you will be in little whispers, little moments in your life that are kind of nudging you towards what feels right. Don't ever ignore that little voice in your head that's telling you this feels right or this really doesn't feel right for me. Because once you start listening to that, you'll just be in this river of what your purpose is and where you're supposed to be headed. And if Peloton U is the right place for you, that's great. But I just want to make sure that each and every one of you are on the path that's right for you. So listen to those whispers, because if you don't, it'll hit you upside the head until you start listening to it.
I love that, Bradley. And I feel like that's the perfect way to end this call, because this is what this is truly all about, is like, there are so many different pathways you can take to achieve your goals, but it does require you to listen to yourself, to do some soul searching, some reflection, having some conversations, putting yourself in the room where you're networking with other people to be able to get to that answer. And I do want to pass the mic one more time to one more person we didn't get to hear from, and that would be Brianna. Brianna, do you have any closing thoughts or reflections or advice that you would give to a student like yourself who might be weighing some different options and trying to choose what pathway is best for them?
I would just say do it and ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid of that, because if you ask the questions, you're going to get the answers, and it's going to, end in success. So just do it.